Okay, so recently an early version of Payday 3 was leaked to the public. It contained the outline of what would eventually become the No Rest for the Wicked heist, and some rather different systems to the final game. Before we talk about this leaked version anymore, I just want to highlight that the gameplay on screen is from the Payday 3 beta. This isn't the leaked version, that looks very different, but the reason I'm choosing not to show that footage is simply because I'm not sure what Starbreeze's reaction would be. Redistributing leaked footage can sometimes be a bit of a no-fly zone online, with many leaks being struck down, and so despite Starbreeze showing off the footage themselves on stream and talking about it there, I'm still not too sure I want to take that risk. Especially as the aspect of this dev build that we're going to be talking about doesn't really require a visual aid, because it's something you're likely very familiar with. It's the Payday 2 armour system. Up until now, I was under the impression that all of the coding and engineering behind the Payday 2 armour system was left on the Diesel engine and couldn't just be ported over to Unreal for Payday 3. But now that we know that the infrastructure for that system does in fact exist in Unreal, to the extent of it even at one point being playable, it sours my perspective on Starbreeze's relatively firm stance that they won't be bringing it back. I had always assumed, from the way that they've spoken about the armour issues in the past, that behind all the customer-facing dialect, they were essentially saying, look, we hear that you're not too happy with the way the armour works, let's try this adaptive armour as a hybrid between Payday 2 and 3's armour system, as for us to go away and entirely re-implement the Payday 2 system while just scrapping Payday 3's isn't the best idea right now, as we should be focusing on adding content and features to the game, not removing or reworking stuff so drastically just yet. But that interpretation of their intentions is entirely shattered by knowing that the system exists in some form within the engine. Now, I should clarify that I don't know much about the technical side of game development, so I'm not assuming that just because this armor system at one point existed in such an early version of the game, that it still exists and that all Starbreeze need to do to get it into the live game is click a button or something like that. As I said, I may not know too much about game development, however, I'm not that naive. But perhaps a classic armor type could be implemented into the game at some point too. At least it now feels more feasible than before. Mio explained on stream that the reason that this did at one point exist was that before development properly started on Payday 3, and they knew exactly what the new armor system would look like, a small in-house build was made with the old systems, and obviously that is what leaked. As for other interesting features from this build of the game, the main one was the early concept for drills. They were initially planned to have adjustable speeds, so you could set a drill to work faster, but at a greater risk of it overheating. There were also different surfaces to drill through that seemingly required different speeds to drill most efficiently. If you're at all interested in learning more about the early concept for drills in Payday 3, I highly recommend checking out the livestream. Almir and Mio go into far more detail about the dev build. I don't really think it's too necessary to talk about much else from the leaked build itself, as most of it is covered in that livestream, and it's a waste of both of our time for me to just parrot that information. However, something that was brought up on stream was the idea that Starbreeze leaked this build as a form of publicity. I highly doubt that this was an intentional leak, especially as some frequently requested systems like the Payday 2 armor system are in the build and didn't make their way into the full release, so I imagine Starbreeze are a little bit annoyed that this leaked, as would any game dev be. But obviously no one external to Starbreeze themselves know whether this was leaked on purpose or not. I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on the topic nonetheless. In case you were interested, this week's blog post was an interview with Mio about the development of the techie enemy type. I'd say it's an interesting read, but the majority of the answers didn't actually give that much information at all. You've got interesting questions like how did the techie change during development, or any teasers as to what the next enemy type may be, but the answers boiled down to the techie didn't change much during development, or even better, for the question about teasing a new enemy type, the answer is essentially just no. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but with an answer like this, why even include it in the blog post? I certainly don't know. But anyway, next week's blog post should be much more exciting, as we'll be getting our first look at how Quickplay will work, as well as talking about the upcoming loud modifiers and difficulty in general. As always, let's keep the conversation going in the comment section down below. If you did go on to enjoy the video, please do consider subscribing. And with that all said, thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, drop a like on the video. If you disliked the video, drop a dislike on the video. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you in the next video.